What is the most terrifying sound in the world? The footsteps of an assassin in a dark hallway? Or the sudden silence of a friend who has just decided to betray you? For a Roman emperor, they were often the same thing. To sit on the throne was to live inside a gilded cage, surrounded by smiling faces holding hidden knives. This isn't just history. This is a dive into the darkest, most paranoid, and most brutal ends imaginable. Today, we unseal the records of two emperors who learned the ultimate lesson of power. The person you should fear the most is the one standing right behind you. His name was Gaius, but history remembers him by his childhood nickname, Caligula. When he first took the throne, all of Rome celebrated. He was generous and loved by the people, abolishing unfair taxes and freeing those unjustly imprisoned. He was seen as a savior. But the human mind is not built for absolute power, and Caligula's mind shattered. The stories became legendary. He didn't just believe he was a god. He demanded to be worshipped as one, executing anyone who refused. He engaged in twisted affairs with the wives of his own senators, and then would cruelly mock their husband about it at dinner. He built a 2-mile floating bridge across the Bay of Baiae for no other reason than to ride his horse across it, just to prove a prophecy wrong. His final descent into madness came when he declared war on the god Neptune, forcing thousands of his elite soldiers to march to the sea, where he ordered them to violently attack the water with their swords and collect seashells as the spoils of war. Rome was no longer being ruled by an emperor. It was being held hostage by a lunatic. The men who were sworn to die for him, his own Praetorian Guard, decided that before they died for him, he would have to die by them. The plot was set for the Palatine Games. In a narrow underground passage beneath the palace, they cornered him. The first strike came from an officer Caligula had personally humiliated for years. The blade sunk in, and Caligula cried out in pain and shock. It was the first time in years anyone had dared to touch the living god. Then the others descended. It was a frenzy of hatred. The historians tell us he was stabbed over 30 times. But the horror wasn't over. To extinguish his legacy, the assassin stormed the palace. His wife was brutally stabbed to death, and his infant daughter, barely a year old, was snatched from her mother's arms and her head was smashed against a stone wall. But what if the killer isn't an angry soldier? What if it's the person who whispers secrets to you in the dead of night? Meet Domitian, a master paranoia. Domitian's reign was a gilded prison of his own making. He executed senators on whispers of treason and trusted no one. His obsession with being assassinated was so profound, he had the walls of his palace corridors lined with highly polished, mirror-like stone, not for beauty, but so he could watch the reflections of anyone approaching from behind him. A living rear-view mirror for a man who knew a knife could come from any direction. The irony is, the attack didn't come from behind him. It came from right in front of him, from the very people who ran his life. The conspiracy was a masterpiece of betrayal, allegedly orchestrated by his own wife and executed by his most trusted palace staff. The plan's key player was a servant named Stephanes. For days, Stephanes had worn his arm in a wool sling, pretending it was injured. It was a masterful piece of psychological theater. He was a constant, harmless presence in the emperor's life, his injury making him appear weak and non-threatening. The trap was sprung. The emperor's chamberlain lured Domitian into a private room, promising to reveal an urgent conspiracy. As Domitian, distracted and intrigued, leaned over to read a list of fake names, Stephanes made his move. He tore the dagger from his sling and plunged it into the emperor. But Domitian was a powerful man. The struggle was savage. Mortally wounded, he fought back, wrestling Stephanes to the floor, clawed at the assassin's eyes in a desperate fight for survival. But then the other conspirators, the men who brought him his meals and dressed him, rushed in. They held him down and finished the job. He died on his bedroom floor, betrayed by everyone he knew. The man who spent his life terrified of shadows was ultimately consumed by them. His name scraped from a stone, a ghost in his own empire. The throne was the most dangerous place in the world. They were gods one day and forgotten ghosts the next, a grim reminder that the higher you climb, the more brutal the fall. Whose end do you think was the most terrifying? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to explore more of history's darkest secrets, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.